This year, the FAA is proud to be co-sponsoring the UAS Symposium with the Association of Unmanned Vehicle Systems International, or AUVSI. Please join me with a warm welcome for President and CEO of AUVSI, Mr. Brian Wynne. Brian.
Thanks, Eric. Welcome, everyone, to the 2017 FAA UAS Symposium. AUVSI is honored to be partnering with the FAA on this outstanding event, which will feature something, I think, for everyone. And I'm glad to see, now that we've introduced everyone from the FAA and they've dispersed, that I think we've actually got everybody seated. I was worried about that for a while. We literally have maxed out this room, so give yourselves a hand. This is great stuff. And before I go any further, and I want to ask you all to join me in recognizing AUVSI sponsorship partners, AirMap, Qualcomm, and A-Cubed for their generous support for the event. Let's have a hand for them, please. So a lot has been accomplished since this event last year in Daytona, and I'm sure each one of you have your own list. For me, personally, I think of the DAC, and I think of the UAS-T, or the UAS safety team, which I've had the great privilege to participate on as well, getting some really good momentum. These are just two of the ways in which collaboration between industry and government has helped us advance toward UAS integration into the airspace. Since Part 107 went into effect, over 35,000 pilots, I think 35,600 as of last week, have been certificated. We stay in close touch with how the flying is going, and in order to do that, my staff and I have been on a whistle-stop tour of sorts. I think we've covered 6 cities so far, launching what we call our new remote pilots council. And just to show the depth of the collaboration between industry and the FAA, we've had an official representative of the FAA at each one of those meetings. His name is Ken Kelly, and I don't think he's with us here today. But Ken Kelly has been providing a sympathetic ear. He's been helping us with kind of a level set for the pilots, and the pilots are multi-thousand hour pilots, all the way to people that are trying to figure out how to spell Part 107. And Ken, and I call Ken jokingly quite literally the bravest guy in the FAA. He comes and he basically helps us understand what's going on out there, how is it going with the guys on the front line that are flying. We have a lot of fun at the meetings, but we talk about a lot of different things. And just as an interesting observation here, a lot of work is going on at the local level, right? We had one meeting in Denver where we had one of the key players from Denver TRACON at the meeting, and he got into a discussion with one of the pilots who was looking to operate in Class C airspace, and they went back and forth. They understood exactly where they were talking about, and it was just delightful to see other pilots chime in and learn from how does somebody who regulates the airspace, who actually designs the airspace, think about what they're doing. And interestingly, it turned out that he had approved the operation that this gentleman wanted to do in that Class C airspace, but it hadn't been approved in Washington. So that suggested to me that we have these gaps that are going on. So that our chapters in our Remote Pilots Council has really been doing that work at the local level. We're going to foster more and more of that, and then we're going to work it all the way up and see where the gaps are, so that the FAA can benefit from what everybody is thinking. Waivers comes up a lot during these discussions, of course. We've also been keeping track of how it's going with the waivers. We have numbers on waivers so far. We did release a study of the waivers to date on our website last week. If you haven't seen that, go to auvsi.org. It gets into what the waivers were for, what the operation was doing, what kind of platform was being used, et cetera. No surprise, 94% of the waivers so far, and I think there's been over 300 of them were for flying at night. So a lot of night flying going on out there. We seem to have figured out how to do that particular additional risk mitigation. So that study I commend to your attention. But the long and the short is that my takeaway from these meetings is that we're really witnessing the birth of a vibrant community around a very robust commercial opportunity. That's what it looks like to me.